Have you ever gone hunting with someone you didn't really know? Maybe a friend of a friend, someone you met through a forum, or a guide who said he knew the perfect spot. You tell yourself it's fine. You'll learn a few things. Get away from work. Away from noise. You'll come back with stories, maybe even an elk if you're lucky. But the woods, they have their own rules. And sometimes, the lessons they teach aren't about what you came for. My name's Tyler. This happened 3 years ago in northern Wyoming. It was supposed to be just a weekend with my best friend Logan. A chance to do something real, something different. That weekend turned into the longest 48 hours of my life. This is The Guide. Logan and I had been talking all week about this hunting trip, our first big guided hunt. We reached a small cabin tucked between two ridges. A man was outside, splitting logs that echoed through the valley. He looked startled when we approached. Hey, he said. Hunters? Yeah, I said, extending my hand. We're Tyler and Logan. We're supposed to meet a guide named Rick. For a moment, he froze, like someone caught off guard. Then he recovered. Right, of course. Let's head out. Something about the way he said it didn't quite sit right, but we'd already paid for the trip. So we grabbed our packs, checked our rifles, and followed him into the woods. The air was cool and sharp with the smell of pine and damp earth. Branches dripped with leftover morning dew, tapping against our jackets as we hiked. Rick walked ahead, muttering half-thoughts. Watch the wind. Tracks will lie to you. Trees will tell you what's coming if you listen right. Logan leaned closer to me, lowering his voice. Trees talk now? Rick turned back just enough to grin. Figure of speech, mostly. Everything out here's got a language. Most folks just don't stick around long enough to hear it. I gave a half laugh, but the way he stared off toward the ridgeline after saying it, like he was listening for something, made my stomach knot. We pressed deeper into the valley. The trees grew thicker, older, the light dimming even though it wasn't close to noon yet. The ground sloped unevenly, and twice Rick veered off the marked trail without explanation. Does he know where he's going? Logan whispered. I shrugged. Come on, downhill's better. They always follow the water, he murmured. He didn't wait for a response, just started walking faster. We followed, trying to keep pace. The sound of rushing water grew faint in the distance. Logan muttered, Man, this guy's got energy for days. Yeah, I said, and zero sense of direction. By the time the trees thinned and we glimpsed the distant glint of the river valley below, I realized something. We hadn't seen a single deer, no elk, no fresh tracks at all. Just endless walking behind a man who seemed less like a guide, and more like someone trying to get us somewhere very specific. Minutes turned into hours, the woods stretching on without a sound. No tracks, no droppings, just the crunch of our boots and the constant sway of trees. Rick walked ahead, saying little, stopping now and then to stare at the ground or glance toward the ridgeline, but never raising his binoculars. We followed in silence until the woods opened to a narrow bend in the river. The trees thinned as the sound of rushing water grew louder, not the calm trickle of a creek, but something angrier, faster. Rick led the way, muttering under his breath, snapping at us for every small mistake. Step here, careful, you'll spook everything, he barked, though there hadn't been a sign of life all day. The path narrowed until it hugged the riverbank, slick with moss and silt. Tyler, Logan whispered, keeping his voice low. Where is he taking us? I tried to sound steady. Maybe it's part of the plan. Scouting routes, checking the current. But my gut said otherwise. The roar of the river rose ahead, a deep, throaty rumble echoing off the canyon walls. The water churned white and violent, a spot no one in their right mind would cross. Rick stopped there, boots inches from the edge, breathing heavy. For a long moment, he just stared into the current. Then he spoke, voice low and distant. Almost ready. Just want to make sure everything's clear. He crouched, dipping his hand into the water, as if testing its pull, then stood, turning toward us with something cold behind his eyes. The rifle came up so fast I barely registered it. Step closer, he said. His tone was calm now, almost gentle. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. My stomach dropped. Logan froze beside me, hands half raised. Rick, what's going on? I asked, voice cracking. He smiled, a small, wrong smile, and shook his head. You shouldn't have come here. The sound of the river swallowed everything else. Then Logan's eyes flicked toward me, a silent count. We moved at the same time. I lunged forward, grabbing the barrel. Logan slammed into him from the side. The three of us hit the mud hard. The rifle went off, deafening, the shot echoing off the trees before spinning out of Rick's hands, arms flailing as the bank gave way. In an instant, he was gone, swallowed by the river's surge. For a heartbeat, we stood frozen, the sound of rushing water filling our ears. Then we ran. Crashing through brush, slipping in the mud, not daring to look back. The river behind us gurgled quietly, the memory of it sharp in my mind. Rick's wild eyes, the sudden gun, the fight. I can still see every movement, every misstep, over and over. We didn't know who he really was, only that we had survived something that should have ended us. Days later, the rest came to light. Authorities found the body of the real Rick further down the river, at the exact spot the imposter had planned to use on us. The man we'd been following wasn't Rick. He had killed the real guide the night before we arrived, and somehow we had walked right into the same trap. The imposter was never found. No trace, no hint of where he might have gone. Sometimes I think about the forest that day, how easy it was for him to disappear into the trees, into the river, how small and unprotected we really were. And that's the part that keeps me up at night. There are people like him out there, blending in, waiting, planning. Maybe he's already decided who the next hunters will be. And maybe next time, that someone will be you.